John ride for a little bit, man.
That thing touched the soul, boy.
Man, oh man, I have to put some lyrics to that John. Something, man. That's new music, man. We gonna get there, man. We gonna change, man. Slowly, you know what I'm saying. We gonna change, man. We gonna change slowly. You know what I mean? Making progress, man. That's what it's about. You feel me? You know what I'm saying? So, man, welcome. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Uh, yeah, man. Dang, that song's fire.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, man. What's going on, bro?
Oh man, nothing much, boy. But yeah, look, you put that thing on, it touched the soul. But the music person in me, I was sitting here like, hmm, oh man, maybe I gotta contact him because it sounds like every instrument needs to be mastered, to put a little spike, some
Mm-hmm.
a little touch of sharpness in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, man. Nah, that joint's fire, man. That joint's
yeah,
fire.
yeah.
I could hear like J. Cole like tearing that up, man. You know what I'm saying, man. J. Cole going hard
Ooh,
right now, man. But as always, we tried to do something last week, but man, I was sick, dog. And I hate being sick. I hate being sick. And like I said, man, I don't want to say that act like a baby when I'm sick, but man, that's pretty much that's where I was, you know what I'm saying? Acting like a baby, man, because you know, I was down for the count, man. Down for the count, man.
you don't want to say it, but we were talking in the pre-show, and look, I'm going to say, man, look, every time I don't feel good, the missus she come through, but
Yeah.
like, yeah, I really be going in my head, be thinking about mom. I'd be like, I want my mom here, I want my mom
Look, man, I lay down that bed. I'm like, yo, man, like, oh man, just where's the relief? I'll be trying to search for relief, man. Relief, man. There's nothing worse than like not being able to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So I like elevated my head and things of that nature. You know what I mean? And a thought did go through my head, like, man, do I got COVID? Like, man, I ain't got COVID symptoms. I'm just, stuffy
yeah,
nose and whatnots. You know what I'm saying? And that was really the extent of it. So I did take some medicine during the day. Made me feel better. You know what I mean? At least my nose
yeah,
could sinus relief. You know what I'm saying? But man,
yeah, man.
mm,
Be as though you just said that, because we've been battling the whole sinus thing for the last
mm,
few months, back and forth between three of us,
mm,
and man, I think what we're going to get into probably throughout the show is I just went to a natural, um, like herb shop,
oh yeah, yeah, mm,
and they had like, it has some kind of serum
mm,
that, and it said it fights against COVID and so forth. And all I can think about is, man, they selling snake oil.
yeah, yeah, man. Nah, man, that ain't gonna fight against COVID. You know what I mean? It's a bacteria. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. So you need some prevention. You know,
yeah, yeah,
for that, man. But yeah, man. But during that, we missed a conversation about Joe Biden. State of the Union because we really wanted to talk about that. Um, you know, I think the main takeaway from for me for the State of the Union is how Joe Biden played the Republicans in many ways, right? Because we know through Rick Scott and other Republicans how they really want to sunset Social Security. They've been wanting to do this for the better part of 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 15. I'll give them 15 years. That's what they want to do. But Joe Biden, he got them by saying on camera, you know, that's not what they want to do. You know what I mean? That they won't support that. You know what I'm saying? So but yeah, man. Yeah. What's your thoughts on that?
Actually, Joe's been in politics for almost 40 years,
Hmm.
and he actually pulled the receipts. He said, You've been trying to do this for over 40 years,"
That's true.
and he was pulling the receipts of basically, man, this ain't nothing. This was old. Like, as soon as Social Security came and all, Medicare, soon as it came, they have been trying to destroy it from that moment.
Hmm.
And I'm like, man, this right here was the moment that I sat back and said, Joe's my guy.
Yeah.
Because it was nothing else that I can really say. You know what I'm saying? Like, because you go through these moments and you're like, oh man, I'm kind of okay with him, but he can do a little more here. That moment right there was the moment that we need to see every Democrat president do
Yeah.
with this type of party.
Yeah. With this version of, yeah, Republican Party. Yeah. Yeah. And you know why Joe Biden? You know why Joe Biden said 40 years? Because he was one of the ones back in the day was talking about getting rid of Social Security. You know what I'm saying? So he knows, the
Mhm.
messaging around it, what it sounds like, the rhetoric, you know what I'm saying? And of course, he changed course, you know what I'm saying? Um, and I'll say, of course, my opinion of Joe Biden is that he's had the benefit of being more progressive than Obama, you know what I'm saying? Um, in a lot of ways. That's because, and for a lot of reasons, mainly because he's a white man sitting in president.
Mhm.
That's just the truth of the matter. That's just the truth of the matter. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, you
The
know,
complexion for the protection.
yeah, 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 man. Obama was called all types of stuff. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? For trying to do the same things Biden is doing right currently.
Yep.
Um,
By
so
his own party.
by his own party, yeah, 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 man. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
by his own party, yeah, members of his own party, yeah, man.
And they
So
had super majority, and people wonder why we didn't get things done
yeah,
because it
yep,
was a certain group in that party that did not want it to be done
yeah, that's the
and
truth.
wanted to make his road harder, which some of those people are still there in,
Mhm,
in this with 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 Joe, but they're going along with Joe a little more. But
mhm.
again, that's because of the complexion,
You're right, right, right.
because they are all in conservative districts.
Yeah, the more or purple districts,
Or
what I mean? Conservative or purple, you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
So and there were, other moments, in the State of Union where, I mean, Joe Biden was, this State of the Union in 2023, what it was a campaign ad. Republicans walked right into the campaign ad. Because they are going to blast that. Joe Biden going to blast that for the next reelection. You know what I'm saying?
mhm,
He's going to blast it over and over again. And if it ain't Joe, Kamala's going to blast it over and over again. You know what I'm saying? About them booing and just I mean, it was just you know what uh,
belligerent.
yeah, like, but part of me was like, dang, like this is the evolution of the Republican Party, from the Joe Wilson, who's in South
Mhm,
Carolina, the "you lie" moment to
mhm,
Obama. Like you can't,
mhm.
Republicans clutching their pearls, like, oh, this is not who we are. Like, no, this is who y'all are. This is the next evolution of it. You know what I'm saying? This
Yeah,
is the next evolution of the Republican Party. That's just what it is, dog. That's just
yeah,
what
because
it
you don't as you watch the Republican Party from 70 years ago,
is. Mhm.
they didn't get better on their policies. They just got better on how to attack their policy.
Mhm.
And this and this is the evolution of no, they got better, but the problem is now you just have a group of people who's just not tactfully smart enough
Mhm.
to 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 make it sound presentable because they just don't have the intelligence to do so. So now it's just coming out blatantly.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just what it is. A lot of their rhetoric is very, uh yeah, it's on a certain level, you know what I mean? To where it uh um it triggers people's emotion, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? It doesn't trigger you to rationalize, you know?
Mhm.
Nothing they say triggers you to rationalize, you know what I mean, where they at or where they are, you know what I'm saying? It's like Ron DeSantis talking about, you know what I mean? Talking about the reason he got rid of queer history. I mean, AP African American history course in Florida. And he brought up queer history, but yet
Yeah.
his Secretary of Education said it was not only because of queer history, it was because of intersectionality, Black Lives Matter, and reparations.
Mhm. Mhm.
That was the target, and people aren't realizing that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But when you can present it, you know, to where it's just something that just strikes your emotion, you
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? You'll get people, even black people, you know what I mean, who will support it.
Mhm.
Because now, oh, I'm outraged. I'm outraged. I don't need to, rationalize my outrage right now. You know what I'm saying?
You
You
turn
know?
into Bobby Boucher.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Something's wrong with his medulla oblongata.
for real. For real, man. That's what they turn into, man. Just not rational thinkers, you know what I'm saying? To where they're like, they're 45 years old and they're cheering, yeah, man, cut Social Security. You're
Mhm.
45. I highly doubt you have a savings account or 401k or or life insurance. And you sitting here, fist pumping like you are at Arsenio Hall show. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
About
sort of like Mike Lee, that what Joe Biden was talking about in the State of the Union, where he was talking about some people in the party. Mike Lee, they showed his face where he's like, "Oh, oh, I can't. Oh, no, what is he talking about?
what
Oh,
is he
that's a
saying?
blatant lie." It,
That's a
yeah,
lie.
and literally, the guy's on film in a senior citizen home. He's in a home with people that literally live off of Social Security, telling them that they are going to cut Social Security and that it should be cut, and that is what his work was. He said that's why he got impeached. Like, he said it in front of old people that live off of it, and they cheered.
Old people who the reason that Joe Biden and his administration decided to raise the cost of living allowance under Social Security. They're there cheer. Yeah, with Mike Lee. Yeah, let's cut it. Again, they're not rationalizing. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they're just like, oh yeah, anything to screw the libs. You know what I mean? That's their
Well, the
rational.
language that he used well, as he was talking to him, he was talking about the Democrat Party being rational, being radical, and so, like,
Hmm.
again, if you notice when you talk to any Republican, what are the man, just point the key words out.
Keywords, man. Keywords.
They overuse, radical. They overuse liberal. They
Leftist.
like leftist. They overuse
Socialist.
socialist. Like
Communist.
all communist, CRT, like, because these are their trigger words.
BLM.
Yeah, these are their trigger words. And if you say it,
Hmm.
their audience will get frustrated. It's
Hmm.
not the same as us, where we can say that yes, we would fall along, quote unquote, the liberal side.
Liberal
But
leftist. Hmm.
yeah, but when a Republican say something, we just like, oh, okay, well, we'll listen to you, but we're giving you a rational answer.
Right, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah,
we're
yeah.
explaining to you either the history of where it comes from, or we're explaining to you on the detriment that it has caused because of the history. So we're giving context. And this is the problem that they are having. But again, this ties into Ron DeSantis and the reason why he wants to cut a lot of stuff out of education and so forth, because again, he needs more people that are not as fast as the turtle.
Yeah. No, no. it's true, man. Like he doesn't need and see what Ron DeSantis is doing, and the person we're gonna talk about next is Nikki Haley. But what they're trying to do is cut into the Trump vote, right? Because I
Mhm.
keep saying over and over again, man, all these political pundits who are talking on TV and acting like Trump is still not relevant in the party do not understand
Mhm.
the Republican voter. They simply don't. And they put this thing out and they'll just be like, "Oh, it's not that many of them." No, it's like 40% of the party. At
Mhm.
least 40% of the party who will reliably go vote because of Trump. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's it. The other 60% of the party, you know what I mean, will go vote because Trump just happens to be the Republican. You dig what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah. So you know what I mean? And people put this thing out, you know what I mean? And there's a reason that Ron DeSantis is putting all this, the message that he put out. There was a reason he did that in Black History Month.
Mhm.
Understand that like the people need to understand symbolism, you know what I mean? Some propaganda. That's what people need to understand propaganda and how propaganda works. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
people do things at a certain time, at a certain period in order to like stoke your brain, get your brain to react. You know what I mean? It's like
Mhm.
Pavlov. It's like Pavlov's dog, you know what I mean, with the bell. You know what I mean? That's what it's like, you know. So with him getting rid of African American history, number one, he wanted to be put on the national stage so people know who he is, right? And that kind of worked. We're not really, but and then the other point is to point to those people who just don't like black people, but they won't say they don't like black people, right? They'll just say, "Oh, BLM,
Mhm.
queer, LGBTQ, defund the police, you know,
Socialism.
socialism, leftist, liberal." You dig?
Mhm.
That's how they'll label black people. You know what I mean?
Mhm. As
And that,
Barry Goldwater explained, you know, you can't use the N word anymore. You got to use coded language.
yeah. Oh, that was Lee Atwater.
Atwater. Atwater. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. You close because Lee Atwater and Barry Goldwater were friends.
Yeah.
Lee Atwater worked on Barry Goldwater's campaign.
Mhm.
So guess who would have picked up on that when Lee Atwater worked on Richard Nixon's campaign. You know what I mean? And that's what
Mm.
he said going into in the 80s, you can't say nigger, nigger, nigger anymore. You
Yeah.
know, you
Yeah.
gotta tie it to an issue. You gotta tie it to BLM.
Mhm.
You gotta tie it to African American AP history.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? You just can't say the N word anymore. You dig what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
You got to tie it to woke.
You gotta tie the woke.
Woke.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. You tie it to woke. You tie
Yeah.
it to woke agenda. You tie it to
Mhm.
CRT. You tie it to diversity, equity, and inclusion. You
Mhm.
don't have to say black no more. You don't have to say the N word anymore. You just say it as something else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and people are falling for it. Hook, line, and sinker, man. Hook, line, and sinker, man. And it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Because again, we talked about it. It's easy for people to fall for it when you have been miseducated and undereducated, right? And these are things like, my family was just talking about, like, my daughter funny as hell. Uh, she was talking about how her school had a black guy come in, and and she was like, he was dressed up like a slave too. She said, she said, she said, and she waving a finger like this, and she said, this is 2023. We just don't do that.
That's it.
She said, "I
That's
don't
it.
care how much they're gonna pay you."
Yeah, yeah.
So she
That's
was
it.
just like, "You dressing up like a slave, and then you
Mm,
come in there and start talking about Frederick Douglass and you know Martin Luther King and Barack Obama, and like, she's really explaining. But here is a young person who understands tokenism,
Yeah.
because that's what it is.
Mhm,
That this
mhm,
guy was okay with being a token,
mhm,
and he wasn't up there to truth tell, um, which then, you know, as my daughter was explaining, that a teacher, um, then was, what they consider white explaining,
mhm,
the Confederacy.
mhm.
After that, he was like, "Oh, well," he had to leave, but he was just like, "Oh, well, it is, some people that it is their heritage to fly that flag. Here's a black guy talking to black children. That right there is
No,
dangerous.
sir. No, sir.
It's dangerous
Man,
because in that moment, if you're not going to tell the truth, don't tell it at all."
exactly. Don't tell it at all, man. And, and I had a conversation, with a friend of mine today, man. I was talking about how Black history the problem with Black history is that and we talked about this out there. We talk about too many first. We don't talk about, everything in between. You know what
Mhm,
I'm saying? So then it allows all of this perpetuation of these lies, right? Let's just call it what it is.
mhm.
Perpetuation of lies, you know what I mean? Like that flag has nothing to do with history or I mean nothing to do with
Heritage.
heritage,
Mhm.
right? Because you're saying your heritage is connecting to pro-slavery,
Mhm. Hate,
right?
murder.
Hate. Exactly. Hate, murder, the KKK,
Mhm,
militias. I know we talk about the KKK all the time, but there were states that had their own militias, you know what I mean? They didn't necessarily have the KKK. They had different militia groups, you know what I mean? Um, you know, and yeah, man, people perpetuating these lies, man, especially when it comes from black people, man.
mhm. Which
Is
was the big fight in Virginia, right?
what's
With
that?
the big fight in Virginia around the Second Amendment, around militias between the
Mhm.
state and the federal government.
Yeah, man. Like I implore people to go read the Articles of Confederation. You read the Articles of Confederation, and then once you read the Articles of Confederation, you will understand why the Second Amendment was created, or the events that happened in between the Articles of Confederation and the Second Amendment being created.
Mhm,
You know what I mean? Part of what was going on was slave revolts, and
mhm,
the states were like, "Hey, hold on. If the federal government, like the only time we can have a militia is if the federal government says we can have a militia." You know what I mean? That's what it said in the Articles of Confederation. And then when they formed the Constitution that we know it today, they were like, "Hey, look, we need our own militias because we can't be having those slave revolts like they got going on in Jamaica and Haiti and in
mhm,
South America and Central America. We got to be able to quickly form a militia to stamp down all of these slave revolts."
mhm.
That's like
We're
that's really how that conversation went, man. That's
To
really
tie
how.
it back to the flag,
Yeah.
the Confederate flag is, what was it the Mississippi, Confederate, letter, that literally was explaining why they're going to war?
Yeah, yeah. Why they joined the Confederacy? Yeah, Mississippi,
Yeah, yeah.
Tennessee. Yeah, they
Yeah,
explained.
it
Yeah,
was over slavery,
it was slavery. They wanted
and
they
they
wanted
wrote
it.
it out clear.
They made it clear, very clear.
Yeah,
Very, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and no other state after that debated about what it was over. Tennessee, which followed after, you know, Mississippi and so forth. Like, yeah, yeah, they all were in line to say, "No, this is clearly about slavery
Yeah,
and the money that we are making off of slaves."
yeah, man. Pretty much. Free
Yeah,
labor.
yeah, free labor, man.
Yeah, free labor. Yeah, man. Yeah,
That's
man.
the whole thing that we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
Where we were talking about the theme going forward will probably be uh being sold snake oil.
Yeah,
That's a part of the snake oil is
it is.
people believing that that false history,
Mhm.
that it's
Mhm.
about heritage
Mhm.
because they don't know about these letters.
Yeah, man, and a lot of it, like you're saying, a lot of it's gonna come in the form of black people.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So we gotta be we gotta be on that, man. And one of those things, miseducation, that we're talking about is Nikki Haley, man. Nikki
Mhm,
Haley decides to run for president, and her political ad was talking about how her political ad was talking about how she was born in Bamberg, South Carolina, and the only thing that separated, the that divided, the people in Bamberg was the train tracks. Like, ma'am, you're in
really?
Bamberg. You live in Bamberg, South Carolina. You know the history of Bamberg. Oh Lord, have mercy. You know, and she starts talking about, of course, like you said, she starts getting into all of the words, right? The trigger words: woke,
Mhm, mhm,
CRT, diversity, equity, inclusion, all trigger words. The left,
mhm,
socialist. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Getting into all the trigger words. You know what I mean? Flashing up symbols of BLM protests, and you know what I'm saying, and black people robbing, committing crimes against people. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
Flash. You know what I'm saying? Um,
We black people been a symbol of violence in this country for over 400 years.
bruh, crazy. Yeah, yeah, man. The dude in Louisiana was using
Mhm,
black people, talking about crackheads, using it in a
mhm,
political ad. You know what I mean? And black people was defending it. You
mhm,
know what I'm saying? You know. But the crazy thing was, after Nikki Haley tries to have this kumbaya moment, that America's not racist. America's not racist. We just have, we have differences and we agree on things, on plenty of things. And culture come out. Tell her, go back to your country.
yeah. How
Yeah,
about I
man.
go to India and start changing
Go go back to
your
India.
political and start taking your statues down. You wanna take down the Confederate. I said, God darn, she went hard too.
Yeah, when she was talking about it, when Nikki Haley took down, 'cause she was governor when they took down the Confederate flag. You know what I mean? Well, when it was ripped down, because you had the black girl who climbed the pole, ripped it down.
Shout out to her. We don't know her name
Yeah,
at this moment, but shout out to her on Black History Month.
yeah, man. Oh, I gotta post that about her,
Yeah,
man. You know, but yeah, man. Yeah, man. I just found it just a very funny. Like, there it is. America is gonna do America, boy.
yeah.
Oh my god. You know what I mean? Like, and here's the thing, for folk that don't know, man, like, Nikki Haley's name, her legal name, or before she changed it to Nikki, her name was Nimrata. Nimrata. You know what I mean? She is Indian heritage from India. You know what I'm saying? And the reason she's of lighter skin is because of British occupation, British imperialism. That's why she's a lighter skin
Mm,
Indian. And she always wear the real light foundation of makeup on purpose.
yeah,
Yeah. Try to cover a lot of her skin and not show how brown she is. But anyway.
yeah. That cream is a number one seller in countries like that.
Oh yeah. The bleaching cream.
Mhm,
Bleaching cream is the number one seller in countries where the British had imperialism.
mhm.
Jamaica and Brazil. Oh, I won't say Brazil, but Jamaica and India.
No, in Brazil, banned it.
But Brazil was Portuguese.
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And Brazil banned it. Yeah, yeah, man. But I just found it just fun. Man, all I could do was just laugh, man. Like, I couldn't even like really analyze it, 'cause I was just like, Yeah, it was coming, man. It was coming. You know.
Look, one thing that we learned, especially since Trump been in office, is the Republican Party never seems to disappoint.
Never, never.
If there's a place that's lower than hell, the Republican Party will find it.
They'll go low, man. They go low.
They just go low. They're like like they never stop and think like maybe we'll do something good this time. They
Yeah, yeah.
never it never crosses their mind.
Why? There's
Yeah.
no there's no accountability. There's no accountability on that side, man.
State of the Union, when they start talking about the wages was rising up,
Hmm.
no Republicans stood up.
None.
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 They were not happy that Americans got raises.
Yeah,
They did not stand up when they started talking about the job numbers.
the job
They
numbers.
were not happy.
Nope.
Yeah, you want to know what they did when they start talking about the
Oh,
insulin price
insulin.
going
Yeah,
down?
yeah, yeah.
They did not clap or stand up.
Mm-mm.
It's clear. If
But
there's a place lower than hell, they will find it.
they will find it, man. March Taylor Green, sitting there yelling. She
Yeah,
yelled something. I can't remember what she yelled. She yelled something. But yeah, man. Yeah, man. That's
fire. Oh, just
liar or something. You know what I mean? And then she just get up. She had like a congressional hearing or something, a House hearing. I'm sorry. And yeah, I don't know, man. Like she, man,
man,
she's
her and
dumb.
Pope. She,
Oh, she is dumb. Like
whew,
she is dumb. Like really. Like, and I'm not saying that because she's a Republican. I'm saying because she is dumb.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
for
just go listen to her line of questioning as they have these hearings.
that's what I'm saying. Like, you listening to
People are
this,
looking like, "What the hell?" Like,
yeah, yeah. The people are like, I don't understand what you're asking. And
yeah,
then she asked another question, like, I do not understand what's going on. You know what I mean? And then when people are like, yeah, no, that's not what it is, then well, I don't believe you. Blah 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 blah.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
yo, this
yeah.
woman is crazy.
You're liberal. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
In the
yeah.
statement, "Oh, you're liberal."
Oh yeah, and then she just turned around, go on Fox News and OAN. Oh, I showed them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, no, you were dumb, and there's nobody on these Fox News or OAN to be like
Yeah,
challenge her and be like, no, your question was dumb. Like, I didn't even understand what you were asking. You
yeah.
know what I
Jim
mean?
Jordan, same thing.
Yeah, same thing. They go on these
Yeah,
news stations. They get no pushback.
yep. Matt
And
Gates, like, man, you can go down the line. Gozard,
yeah, man, go down the
like,
line.
they're just not the smartest of their bunch.
Nah, man, they don't have to be.
They don't have to be.
They don't have to be. All they have to do is to capitulate the people's feelings. How do they
Because
feel? Just let me know how you feel.
the
You
one
know.
smart guy, Romney,
Mhm.
the one smart guy doesn't talk much.
Mhm, mhm. That's true. He's
If
outnumbered
because he's outnumbered.
by the rest
He's
of them.
outnumbered,
By the rest of them
and all
dummies.
he's thinking about is money.
That's all he's thinking about.
Like, if you ever look at Mitt Romney's face, he will go work with the Democrats really quickly. He's a
Mhm.
Republican, but he knows that, hey, man, your plan is better, but can you just throw us a bone?
Yeah, throw some bones, man. I think a lot of it he tried to be like his dad. His dad was a liberal Republican,
Mhm.
so he tried to be like his dad. Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
He tried to be like liberal. You know what I mean? Saying on certain issues. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. But he's uh I wouldn't be surprised if he don't last the next round
I wouldn't be surprised either, man. It's
because they
like,
are getting rid of people like him.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, just look at Liz Cheney. Liz Cheney was the most. I tried to explain to somebody, man. Like Liz Cheney was a conservative. This dude, like, looked me in my face, was like, "No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't." I'm like, "No, she was a conservative. She was conservative. She was like her dad reincarnate. She was. like the definition of conservatism, the definition of limiting the powers of the federal government. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Limiting spending. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, she didn't participate in all of the cultural war BS, and that's how he looked at it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
She didn't participate in all the cultural war BS. You know what I'm saying? BLM, and you know what I mean? Oh, she said what was her thing? Oh, talking about the what was her thing? Her and Kinzinger. Uh, uh, the big lie, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh, dang, we didn't put that on the docket about the Fox News.
Mhm. Oh,
About
yeah.
Fox. Yeah, Fox News
Twitter
coming
files?
out. What's that?
You talking about the Twitter files?
Yeah,
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 Fox News
Republican,
coming. Yeah,
they
saying
burning
that.
themselves again?
Look, man. Look, when it comes to court, man, them mugs they sing like a songbird in there, man, boy.
Yeah, yeah,
They were saying that the big lie. They knew Trump was lying. It was basically about ratings. They
yeah.
knew because, like we're saying, they know that the average Republican, the conservative, or the Republican that tunes in the Fox News and listen to people on the Fox News, they know they are not very bright people. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And so they just kept feeding people these lies, knowing they would tune in. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? It's about ratings and it was about money, which is why when Dominion came out and sued them, they quickly went away from that.
Mhm. Yeah.
They could no longer, but it don't matter because now the information has hit conservative radio, talk radio. You dig
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And it don't matter because the average Trump supporter still believes, no matter what you present to him, still believes that the election was stolen
And
because
Joe Biden's a clone.
and oh, bruh,
That is not the real Joe Biden. That is someone else pretending to be Joe Biden.
I don't see how people live in that. I don't see how people live in this type of work. Like, how do you get there? Like, how do you get there? How do you wake up one morning? You're sitting there fixing breakfast. You know what I mean? You turn in news station. You know what I mean? You're like, yep, that's a clone.
Yeah.
not even not even understanding that. And then you go around other people that believe you. Like,
Hey, look, bro. Just remember,
uh,
these are your coworkers.
oh
These
yeah,
are your engineers in your community. These are even business owners in your community.
they're military members.
Your military members as well.
You have a whole general out here who was General Mike Flynn, former, I mean, retired
Yeah,
General Mike Flynn.
yeah, he was able to retire. Yeah, he shouldn't have been, but
No.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah,
my
yeah. They need to go ahead and rescind him. Yeah,
God, it's crazy. Man.
yeah, because this is where we are,
This is where we
and
are.
sadly, the missus asked me a question the other day because when Hamlin was in the um was was in the booth watching, the playoff games and so forth, and he had his hood on and so forth.
Oh
People,
yeah,
yeah, people were online saying that he was a clone.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and that wasn't him, and all of this nonsense, right? And the missus was like, "I don't understand," and she said, "And it's starting to be more, of black folk that's starting to do this," and she was like, "What would drive people to do that?" I said, "The lack of knowledge."
Lack, very
And
lack
she
of
was like,
knowledge.
"Huh?" And I was like, "When you don't know something and you know you don't know it, you will convince yourself of something that is false and
Yep.
wrong, and you will strongly stand on that to pretend that you actually know it."
Yeah, man. Yep. Yep. Because yeah, that's just the truth, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's social media, right? Like,
Mhm,
of course, it's this gang mentality too. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I gotta be a part of the group as
mhm,
well. So let me believe that. But the other part is what you said. You know what I mean? When you have no knowledge of something, you are going to rationalize it by any way possible.
mhm.
You know what I mean? In order to placate what you already believe or what you already want to go against, right? Because the whole narrative around Hamlin, right, is about him having to take the vaccine and somehow the vaccine contributed to him, what happened to him. So if you already have these ideas about the vaccine, well, of course you're going to believe that's a clone.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, like what?
yeah, yeah.
Like,
Because it's all a rabbit hole, right?
yeah,
If we didn't learn anything, behind, what was that? Oh my goodness, what movie was that? Was it Oz? Um, oh man, yeah, I can't remember which movie with a rabbit and the hair and, Alice in
oh,
Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in
Yeah.
Wonderland.
Mhm.
The premise of that movie, when you really think about that movie, is once you go down the rabbit hole,
Mhm.
look how strange the movie got.
Mhm. That's true, man. That's true. That's true.
And like when you step back and you look at the world, this is literally what we we are that we're facing. I was speaking to a coworker on Friday, and he's reading the headline, and he was just like, "Oh man, Joe Biden, shot down some of these spy balloons,
Mhm.
and and he ended up shooting down kids experiment." Um, Man, that is so wrong. And he's going through the whole emotion and saying, the kids can't even have experiment nowadays. And I was like, yeah, the problem is when national security involved, maybe that wasn't Joe Biden that made the decision. Maybe that was the military.
Exactly. More than likely, it was probably the military, and then they went to say, "Hey, Mr. President, we shot down something else," and then Joe
Yeah,
Biden was like, "Yeah, like
yeah,
okay, yeah."
yeah.
Like these
And
generals can make decisions. The Secretary of Defense. That's what they're there for. To make decisions. They don't always have to go through the president. The only time they need to go through the president is wartime, man. You know what I'm saying?
it,
So
it was unbelievable. And then like his
that's
in his rational mind, what he told himself next was, yeah, but isn't he the president and he's over the military? But but again, this guy's in the military.
oh Lord, Lord mercy. Look, look,
So me,
guys,
who did not serve, was literally explaining to another guy who served on how his country functions.
look, man. One secret I tell you, bro, is that there are plenty of people who serve in the military and they don't like the government, which is absolutely insane to me.
Yeah,
And they really truly believe that the military is not part of the government. They honestly believe this. You know what I'm saying? So they look at the military as some different, organization. And why do they do that? It's because they can get with other people, like a General Mike Flynn. You know what I mean? So if they're of the lowest rank, they'll meet people on these higher echelons of ranks who think the same way that they think. You know what I mean?
mm,
If the president or the government isn't who they believe should be in charge, they don't like it. They don't care. You know what I'm saying? At the end of
yeah,
the day, they gotta do whatever the commander in chief says, but they'll voice their own opinion of it. You know what I'm saying?
they'll,
And
they'll make it, they'll make it hard.
yeah, I mean, yeah, in some well, in some ways, you know what I mean. In some ways, but at the end of the day, they'll execute whatever the mission is. They won't like it.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? They won't like it, but they'll execute the mission and then they'll complain about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know. yeah, man. I'm not surprised, man. I'm not surprised, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You
But again, it goes down to when we have that kind of mindset. Okay, well, we can now compare it to an actual whole entire party.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? Like instead of it it working collectively for the greater good of the actual country, it's literally always trying to be complicated and take away from the greater good or make it more harder to achieve certain things in our society.
yeah, man. Because at the end of the day, man, people who are in charge of the change, or who let me say this, people who have the power to make a change don't want to make the change if the change doesn't benefit them. Right. This is the realization Martin Luther King comes to, right? When Martin Luther King gives like his final speech, I mean, his final speech, I'm sorry. One of his last speeches, um before he's murdered, right? And he just like, he realizes that his dream has turned into a nightmare. You know what I mean?
Mhm,
Because he realized that the people that have the power to change don't want to change if it doesn't benefit them. And it doesn't matter if they're on the right or the left. You know what I
mhm,
mean? They
mhm.
just like, yeah, nah, this ain't benefiting me. So I don't want it to change. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
And,
And he talks about it in his book, right? Chaos or community, where we go from here. I don't know. Stupid light. But
yeah.
chaos or community, where we go from here. Um, I mean, he is Nostradamus in this book.
Wow.
Nostradamus, man, and we should most definitely talk about that more than we talk about the I have a dream speech.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
People don't even talk about the right parts in I have a dream speech. Reparations and police brutality part. But anyway, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was just telling my kids that because they were thinking that the the "I Have a Dream" speech was, like, only 20 minutes long.
Mm,
I mm-mm, said it's
hmm
longer than that, sweetie, and,
yeah,
like, they kinda looked it up, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I did not realize it was that long." I was like, "Yeah, because they only giving you bits and pieces."
right. They
Uh,
don't give pieces of it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
mm.
I said,
That's why.
"But to get the full context, you really need to listen to the whole thing."
Yeah, yeah. Listen to it. Go read the transcript.
Mhm, mhm.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
man. You're talking about reparations and police brutality. You know, you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and to go back to like the Ron DeSantis thing. Ron DeSantis was like, "Oh, we getting rid of AP American history, African American history because it mentioned something about queer." And of course, Ron DeSantis wrote a law, the "Don't Say Gay" bill, which
Mhm,
again, yeah, which again applies to the anti woke act. You know what
mhm,
I mean? Both of those things were written and it was designed to do what it did, which was get rid of AP African American history, um, because it didn't want to talk about Bayard Rustin. Bayard Rustin was one of Martin Luther King's best friend. Bayard Rustin was a gay man. You know what I mean? Who organized the March on Washington, and he tried to organize it a few years earlier, and he organized a smaller one prior to that, in like 1960 or something like that. I can't quite remember. Um, but yeah, you can't talk about the March on Washington without talking about Bayard Rustin. You know what I mean? And the fact that you know what I mean, and so again, and again, the March on Washington. Why was Martin Luther King there for the March on Washington? There's a flyer for the March on Washington said we are marching on Washington for universal basic income, housing, uh,
mhm,
childcare, uh, affordable education,
mhm.
and a livable wage.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah,
yeah.
man.
Don't
It's
seem too
crazy.
leftist to me. It just
What's that?
I said it don't sound leftist to me. It sounds pretty center.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Yeah, it's and that's the thing. People think that that's leftist. That's not leftist.
No.
That's not leftist. Leftist is saying that the government will build housing every 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Leftist is saying
Which they should.
what's that?
Which they should. But
I mean, yeah, look, I agree. I agree. The government should build housing every 2 to 5 years in order to keep housing down. You know what I mean? Or allow people affordable housing. This is how we get to the magic number of 60% of African Americans owning homes. You know what I'm saying? That's just the truth of the matter. Um, a leftist idea would be public banking. A leftist idea would be, more higher taxes. You know what I'm saying? And those taxes going towards, public education. You know what I'm saying? What they were proposing that was liberal. That was down the
yeah,
middle. That
yeah,
was down the
down
middle.
down the middle, because even a Republican would need those things to survive.
Yeah, yeah. But again, they label it as as liberal, communist, socialist. You know what I mean, or whatever. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
to oppose those things, man. But yeah, man.
yeah.
Yeah, man. And
But Ron DeSantis right now, he actually just got into a bit of trouble over the weekend,
mhm.
uh, because he banned one book too many.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Robert Clemente.
Oh dang. Oh, Cubans don't like that.
The Cubans are furious this weekend.
Hey,
They they had nothing to say when they were banning black books,
mm,
but you tried to ban Robert Clemente
mhm,
because Robert Clemente was talking about racism.
mm. Yeah,
The
man.
Cubans are
Hey,
pissed this weekend.
that's what they voted for.
Yes, exactly what they voted for.
Yeah, yeah. That's what you voted for. That's what you got in line for. That's
Yep.
what you got in line for. Um, but yeah,
So,
man.
so I am going to say I really don't have no tears for
Yeah, 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 yeah.
him.
No, none, zero, zero, man. Um, but all of this is say, one of those things that we talked about was that, you know, um, they used to say, if you want to know the truth, you hide it in a book. Well, now, if you want to know the truth, you hide it in the internet
Mhm.
because people are going to bypass any truth. They're not going to research any truth, what I mean, when it comes to data. And there's plenty, banks put out data when it comes to home loans. Banks put out data when it comes to, things like poverty. I mean, our government puts out data when it comes to poverty, unemployment. What does unemployment lead to? Childcare, education, you know what I'm saying? The environment. A lot of that information is out there. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to go talk to an expert. You know what I'm saying? Although experts will give broader context, you know what I'm saying? But there's a lot of experts already that put information out, whether they put it out in this format, or in a podcast or video format, or they go on TV, or they have a Twitter, or they got a TikTok. They put it out there. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? But guess what? They're not getting the millions of views. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Get many millions of views. Some celebrity who said something about something. You know what I mean? Somebody who's doing some sort of dance. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
They get millions of views, man. So if you want to hide the truth, you hide it in the internet, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you know, um, as we always express and try to point out, even in our group, um, places like looking up the Brookings report, right?
Mhm.
And the Brookings report, I think they did two different reports, in the 60s, and then they did one in 75,
Four.
and was it 74? And then they did one in 2011 and 2021.
Mhm. What was it for?
So all the Brookings report covers um, race discrimination, and um, and how it economically affects the country.
Mm,
Which their last report, um, they spelled out pretty much all all of the. I don't want to specify it as waste, but all of the the non-access that that LGBT groups or blacks or Spanish people did not have when they couldn't access homes. Now you're talking about the GDP, right?
mhm,
Talking about what money is coming into to uh, the GDP overall. But then they just break it down from there, where you're talking about local banking, um, small businesses, and so forth. So when people don't have these access because people are practicing a small scale of racism through through policy or practice, they have effects across communities.
mhm.
And this is what the Brookings report was spelling out. And pretty much it said that racism costs $172 billion in
Right.
the last 50 something years, uh, in 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 economic GDP.
Mhm.
And when you really think about that, you're like, holy crap. And this is what people don't understand when you're talking about, again, when you're talking about racism, no one's really talking about an individual act. What they're talking about is how that individual act turns into a systematic act.
Into the yeah, into systems. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
That's yeah, that's racism. Individual acts of bigotry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
One day, oh, someone call someone a nigger, and then they go into an election booth to
a voting
vote
booth.
for for a Nikki Haley, who
Mhm,
says racism doesn't exist, who then experienced racism
mhm. And then they
inside of
pass
her own
right.
party, and then they pass laws because
Mhm.
she said Ron DeSantis didn't go far enough on
Right,
banning
exactly.
AP studies. That is the racist system, but it started from racism.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, man. And that's what yeah, yeah, man. That's what it is, man. It is people uh, uh um people who aren't curious enough to understand what racism is, right? There's we just aren't curious enough, man. You know what I'm saying? To go discover the nuances within black history or black culture, you know what I'm saying? And then we most definitely try to hide racism. Most definitely. We try to hide it. We try to do we try to most definitely do it like we were talking about, to where it's not you don't come out saying the N word, you come out saying, leftist or woke or BLM, or you know what I'm saying? Something like that. You know what I'm saying? Defund the police, you know what I'm saying? Ocasio Cortez, what I
Mm,
mean? You know, the Dems, the libs, you know what I'm saying?
mm,
Um, yeah, man. And it's always yeah, it's just interesting to me how people, like, we give people these platforms, you dig what I'm saying? Like, we get these people these platforms, and we allow them to espouse their ignorance. We give ignorant people platforms, you know what I'm saying? Um, I like watching The View, I mean, I think I mentioned it before. And like Whoopi Goldberg went up there and was talking about, reparations and 40 acres and a mule, and saying some black people received, reparation or 40 acres and a mule. And that just wasn't true. There were some black people who applied for the Homestead Act, which came after, what I mean? The 40 acres, there was no mule tied, got taken away by Lincoln's racist vice president. You know what I'm saying? Um, But, people would just espouse a lot of this ignorant stuff, without, being curious, you know what I mean? Like, let me go find out, let me understand. And people need to understand, like, if you go to a .gov site and like JY is saying, if you go to Brookings is a .edu site. If you go to a .org site, these are generally where you will find, information that has data attached to it and research and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Um, you know, uh, um, and like I say about Black History Month, I just don't think that, people will say things that just, all they got to do is just a little bit of research. You know what I'm saying? One of those things I'm saying where like Black people are getting like kind of tongue tied on who's Black. You know what I'm saying? Any person of African descent. This is what I find. This is what I find interesting, man. Is that Black? I seen it on Twitter. This dude said Black people are indigenous to America. Right. Number one, you need to understand what indigenous means. Indigenous means that the environment shapes how you look. You know what I'm saying? And these people always fascinate me because I'm like, how is it that if you're saying that the African, if first off, he said African Americans are indigenous, and that's already like you already messed up because you said African. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But my other thing was like, okay, like explain this to me. Like, if you're saying that Black people are indigenous to America, out of all the indigenous groups, why are we the only ones with broad noses and afros? Like, somebody explain that to me. I always want somebody to explain that to me. How is that? If you understand how the sun and the environment affects how you look, we're the only group that is darker than red. You know what I mean? How can you then be indigenous? Everybody else got to be indigenous. Everybody else, there's got to be another group that looks the same. You know what I'm saying? And it always like strikes me because I'm like, like man, all you got to do is just do a little bit of research. You'll understand why certain groups look the way they look. You know what I'm saying, and things of that nature. But yeah, that's just I just had to.
I think I get what you're saying. It's just like how West Coast um, natives resemble Alaskan natives, then
Mhm.
Alaskan natives resemble people in Asia. Uh, like you go down this trail because
Mhm.
they they start to look slightly different as what wherever they're located, but
Wherever they're located,
can
right?
see
Yeah,
how they are tied together.
how they're tied together, right? DNA wise, they'll be linked together, right?
Yeah.
But
And it's
if
only
people
one place
understand,
where we tie together with people.
what's that?
It's only one place where we tie together with people.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and if people understand that where the continent of Africa is located, once it hits, the summer, I'll say, you'll know that it's closer to the sun
Mhm,
than any other continent. You know what I
mhm.
mean? You know, so therefore, if it's closer to the sun, then it's going to affect the melanin in your skin. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
darker people live closer to the equator.
They live closer to the equator, closer to the Isle of Capricorn and the Isle of Cancer. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it wouldn't make sense that we would be totally indigenous to this land. Um,
exactly,
um,
exactly.
now did
Now,
we travel here? Like, yeah,
exactly.
it
Now, were there some people that travel here and stay here? Yeah, yeah, we can have that conversation. Yeah, most definitely. But you
yeah.
can't say we're indigenous. We're not indigenous.
Because it's what you always call like the microwave education
Hmm.
in our culture, where it's easier for you to sit back and say in a minute clip or a 3 minute clip, um, you know, I'm going to give you some I'm going to give you all of these bulletin points in a short amount of time without any deep context,
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
I'm going to then say black people were here on this continent.
Yeah.
Well, it's a truth, but it's also misleading
Yeah. Mhm.
because we know about the black guy who, well, I I think some people do know about the black guy who founded Chicago.
Mhm.
Um, you know, the it was a East African
Sorry.
that founded Florida.
California.
Well, that too, but
Yeah,
but
California.
in Florida, conservatives were pissed off for a short minute of time at Ron DeSantis when they
Mhm.
found out that it was a black guy. Well, a African, which we consider black in the world sense,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
founded actual Florida.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
and they were pissed that they did not know this, that
Yeah, man.
this should be a part of Florida's history.
It's just be a
Um,
part of American history.
well, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah,
It
like
should be just American history
right.
to say that and know that.
To know that California is named after an African uh an African queen, a fictional, I think
Mhm,
African queen. That's what California is named after.
mhm,
You know what I'm saying? An African, yeah, an African queen. Yeah, man. But it goes back to what I was saying about Black History Month. Like these are things we can talk about within Black History Month. You know what I mean? Like, but we're constantly talking about the same individuals. You know what I mean? We're constantly regurgitating Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, like you name it. You know, we don't talk about people who actually moved. You know what I mean? Or everybody in between. You know what I'm saying? Like regular everyday people. And a lot of that is in the data, it's in stories, you know what I'm saying, that people can relate to, you know what I'm saying? Um, because I'm reading this book called The Warmth of Other Suns, and it's talking about how black people moved from the south to the north and how they were immigrants, you know. They were essentially immigrants in the north. And I don't know if you remember this, but like I remember like feeling like an feeling like an immigrant because we had southern accents. People would clown us because our southern accents, you know what I'm saying? We were getting fights because of our southern accents, you know what I'm saying? And things of that nature, you know what I mean?
I
Got
got beat up my first week
yeah, like got
in
bullied because of
in in first grade, and I'll never forget Michael. His first name was
it.
Michael,
Oh man.
and I end up seeing him later on in life. Like we were like preteens,
Mm-hmm.
and I will never ever forget that day that
Mm-hmm.
they were kicking me on the playground,
Mm-hmm.
and just just a southern accent, like,
Mm-hmm.
and I really didn't know much, and
Yeah, no,
because our schools were shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just all of that started to compound,
yeah,
and
yeah. Yeah, yeah, man. That's what it is, man. And you know, you get treated like we got treated like immigrants, you know what I'm saying? Within our own country. You know what I'm
mhm,
saying? So there's a story to be told of everyday people in between all of the extraordinary Negroes. You know what I'm saying? That will explain why our culture is the way it is. You know what I mean? Why we think the way we think, why do we move the way we move, why we do things, you know what I mean? How we become as we become older, you know what I'm saying? Um, why the Xennials and Gen Z are not moving towards the right. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And Xennials are anybody who was born in between 70, I think I explained this before, between 77 and 83, I think.
mhm,
I think that's what it is. Yeah. I think that's but anyway, um, yeah, man. And but through all that, man, you know, going back to what we were talking about when you say, man, you want to hide the truth, you hide it in the internet. You know what I mean? people make assumptions, even black people, about our culture, you know what I mean, and about how we are, and without doing any real research, you know what I mean. And one of those things that I really try to combat all the time when people be like, we're black people are really conservative. If only the conservatives, talk to us, like there's nothing in history that says. And then when you challenge them, be like, okay, well, what do you mean by that? You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
always challenge people who say this. You know what I mean? Like, what do you mean by that? What do you mean we're conservative? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
What data point are you saying? You know what I mean? And you know what they
Yeah.
always point to? Religion.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, like, well, the religions that we participate in, the top three, which is Islam, Catholicism, and Christianity, they're all conservative religions. So
Mhm.
that doesn't explain anything.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, it does,
Be-
socially explain anything or politically explain why we're not conservative.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because again, where intersectionality happens,
Interesting.
where that happens is even through the conservative lens, what we learn through our religions that we practice is progressive
Yeah,
because we learn about taking care of the community.
taking care of the
We,
community.
we learn about you know um, having decent health care um, through our religions.
Mm,
Of even though you're practicing herbalist in
mhm,
a herbalist way, but you're practicing health.
mhm.
But we learn all of those things through our religion.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 man. That's just what it is. Yeah, we do learn it through religion. You know what I mean? And we learn to be progressive through it as well,
Yeah.
too. But I just implore people to, man, be more curious about the culture. Be more curious about the things that you say about black people, man. Don't try to put us in a box. You know what I'm saying? Um, the one thing that differentiates us is region. That's what differentiates us. But the one thing that connects us is data and information. That's what connects us, man. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
yeah, man.
And
Yeah, we just gonna
I
have to
would
get to this housing thing another day. What's up?
I would add on to that is and don't think because a black person agree with you in another group that he is outside of the box. You just stuck him in your box.
Uh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's true, man. That's true. And with that, what I mean, like we gotta recognize the folk who, like, in these day and times, we gotta recognize the people who are against us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Candace Owens, Jason Whitlock,
Hmm.
Larry Elder. Like
Hmm.
these aren't people we need to be trying to save in the black community. We don't need to be trying to save them at all, man.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? We just need to let them be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Let them be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And,
What's his name? Norris Colin or whatever his name is.
and it is a bunch of them cats, man.
Yeah, it's a bunch of them, and pretty much like he's the 2A person, black guy.
Oh, you talking I know you talking about you talking there's two Maj Toure and
Not Monterey.
no, you're not talking Maj Toure because that dude you're talking about, he was on Bill Maher one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, god dang it, I can't remember his name. He wear tiny shirts and he always wear the hats.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
he
he don't know nothing. He don't know nothing besides guns.
nothing. He don't know nothing except guns. Yeah, he don't know nothing about nothing except guns.
You probably tell him how ask him how you change the tire. He gonna say you load it up and you stick it in the barrel.
He don't know nothing but guns,
He
man.
don't do anything. But again, the point I'm trying to make is we just have these black folks in our culture who he wants to sell something to you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And he went to the largest group to
Yeah.
start from the largest group to
hmm
be able to sell something back to his group.
Yeah. And and one thing I noticed that there's this younger group of people who are coming up and they're realizing they can make money off of that. You know what I mean? They try and get the bag, man, off of black
Mhm.
pain. You know what I mean? So they're just out of the blue. You know what I mean? They're just coming out being anti-black. They don't, and they come out guns a blazing. You know what I mean? Chicago, black on black crime, BLM. You know what I mean? They come out guns a blazing, man,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
they realize that Candace Owens bag. That's what they try and get.
yeah.
You
That
know.
that young conservative that Roland Martin had on there. Prime example. Prime example.
Roland Martin tore that dude up, man.
Yeah, like he set up an organization that you could tell he was working with white people to be
Yeah,
able to set up organizations to raise money. He wouldn't show up to or create any new events, but he's raising money,
mm,
saying he's in it to save, to help black people. But the
yeah,
whole time he's in it for the bag
yeah. And
because he's getting paid.
yeah, and there was people from his hometown, wherever he was, and they're like, "Man, I ain't never seen this dude before in my life." I seen it. They were blasting that dude on Twitter, like, "Yo, I've never like I organized in this city, and I've never seen this dude, never."
And
That's because the Republican Party is going to find these type of black people who just quickly want the bag. And
what,
all you gotta
what
do is be anti-black.
yeah,
All you
what's
got to mention
what,
CRT,
yeah. What was the
Chicago.
quote from Malcolm?
What's that?
What's the quote from Malcolm
Which one?
where he was talking about if what the Republicans do is if you got a black person over here that says this, that they want equality and they want jobs and so forth, you go get another Negro to sit back and go against that Negro for
Against it.
saying that.
Yeah,
Like, this,
buddy.
this is where they're getting the bag at.
Yeah, man. That's it. That's it. Because that person that go against it, they gonna get shown on TV. Dr. Ritchie pointed this out about Jason Whitlock when he was talking about the
Yeah,
police chief a couple weeks ago. Now look, before you
he had
before
a
you
falling career.
yeah, man. Before you go on Fox News, you got to submit what you're gonna talk about. You know what I mean? That way they
Yeah,
ain't gonna challenge you. You know what I'm saying? They ain't gonna challenge you. So you get up there and you say whatever anti-black stuff you want to say. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? They won't challenge you on it. They're not gonna
Right.
challenge you. They're just gonna let you say it. Yeah, and then Tucker Carlson sit there and he'll be like, "Mhm,
Tell me more.
yeah. And look, I agree. I mean, heck, you said it."
Yeah, yeah. I'm in the clear, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it's coming, you said it, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's what happens, man. That's what happens. But these folk, who aren't curious, they will fall into it hook, line, and sinker every single time, man. Every single time. Anyway, all right, man.
All right.
We did, yeah, we ran a little bit long, but we ain't get into this housing thing, but we'll get into it another time. We can
Yeah.
just talk about that. But anyway, man, any last words, bro?
Man, I guess I'm gonna end it and jump off of piggyback off of what you're saying. Man, be curious and be dangerous.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, go ahead, bro.
No, I was just saying, be curious and be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know,
That's it, man. Yeah, be more curious, man, about you know, just be more curious, man. Black History Month, man. Try to go research data and information about Black people, man. Don't just be stuck in a box. Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks and all these individuals, they're titans. You know what I'm saying? But there's everybody that fall in between the margins, man. You know what I'm saying? You can go purchase go get the Journal of Negro History. You know what I'm saying? This particular one was written in 1930, but you can go get them for free at the National Archives. You go get that for free, and I think it's called the Journal of African American History now. So So I think you can get all those free now. But man, but be curious, man. Be more curious about black people. Like, man, god dang, it's crazy. You know.
Yeah, they got
I mean,
man, they got scholarly books out here.
yeah, man. They do, man. They do. Got scholarly books out here, man. And on the news articles. You know. So, but anyway, man, we hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy your week. And you know what I'm saying, man. We out, man.
Turn me up.
Yeah.